Welcome being extra. I'm happy to be joined by my co-host Luis. How you doing, Luis?
I'm doing great, man. What's up? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Just ready to do this interview. Ready to talk some movies.
So our guest today is Jon Thomas. He's been working in the movie industry for a couple years. He's worked on just about everything that's filmed here in the last couple of years in various different roles, like to name a few things, like Stranger Things, Godzilla, Blockers, and many, many, many more. I can't even list them all.
I don't think I could either.
How's it going, John?
It's good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I think the industry might start back up soon, hopefully. I keep seeing some posts little by little.
Yeah, it seems like people are itching to get back into it. I myself don't know personally when it'll be, but hopefully it's soon because I think we all could use the work. We're all ready to get back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, besides not having any work, how has quarantine been treating you?
Pretty mundane, same thing day to day. I'm trying to get myself like a routine. I've been learning a new language. I've been exercising, going for runs, working out at home, just anything I can do to stay mentally and physically in shape.
That's true, man. Yeah. When you're at home this long, which we're not used to, we're used to being at work. We're used to being on location, under the studio. When we're at home this long, like you have to stay in shape. You have to keep moving. Otherwise, you're just like stuck. Like if I don't move, I just don't want to do anything. That's just how I work.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. It's dangerous.
Yeah, there'll be like days where I just don't want to do anything, and then there's days when I do everything. But yeah, having a little bit of consistency because filming times would be crazy, and it's hard. It's almost impossible to get routines going with great work schedules. So having all the free time to actually have time to do stuff consistently is a huge help, I think.
I think it's interesting too because especially for people in the film industry, it seems like we went from one end of the spectrum to the complete opposite end because, we went from having no time for anything, working 12 plus hours a day with no time for breaks, no time for a social life to having all this time on our hands. And now it's like, what do we do with it?
That's true, man. And I'll ask you quickly, do you think things are going to change drastically when we get back on set with, social distancing and all that?
I think they will. I think I'm definitely not an expert on what the new regulations will be. I've read over some of the guidelines that the union has suggested, the different labor unions for the film industry. Things will definitely be very different though. I don't think that at least for the next year or so, there will be huge movie shooting, at least in grandiose scale with, tons of extras and giant set pieces and a lot going on. I think that it will be smaller, more personal movies, stuff that takes place underwater or, in a room or, a guy who's out trapped alone in the woods somewhere, stuff along that lines. Unlike, Godzillas or your Marvels or anything that's just monstrous in size.
That's true, man. Yeah, I feel like a lot of scripts will be rewritten, so they don't have that many people in the scene. Yeah, you're completely correct with that. Well, man, I want to talk about, the stuff you've done in the film industry, and I'm going to go way back because Luis told me you started working around the fall of 2015. That's right?
I did. It was the fall semester of my sophomore year of college. My roommate at the time, Austin, he doesn't do set work anymore, but he had done a little bit, and we were sitting in our dorm one day and he was like, yo, you need some work, right? Like I saw his casting call for some extras to play fraternity boys in a TV show, and it's like, would you be interested in that? I had no idea what to expect or how to even go about applying for it. and showed me how to do it. I got hired, and then I basically went from there. I started getting semi-consistent extra work around my college schedule, and yeah.
Did you when did you make the leap from like making it sometimes a week or a few times to like full time?
Well, I would say for the next year and a half of school, 2 years of school, I could only do it during breaks or during summer vacation. So I would get the odd. I would do it maybe a handful of times each fall spring semester, just because I had classes and stuff. But if I had the odd day where my schedule worked out, where I didn't have class, or my class was able to be skipped, I would make the drive down to Atlanta to go be on a movie set. And back then for me, it was very exciting. It was very new. I didn't know a lot of people yet. I hadn't really experienced the film life that much, and so doing it only a handful of times, sprinkled in and out, sprinkled here and there throughout the months. It was like exciting every time for me. But once it got to summertime, where it's like, all right, I'm here 5 days a week. I'm on this set this day, this day. Here and there's like, all right, the novelty's worn off. It's fun, but it's not the same anymore. It's more of a job now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like we meet a lot of people like that who just like, it's, because you can choose when to work, that it just like, a lot of like college students work it, or just people who have like maybe other jobs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very convenient in that way, and you can start and stop whenever you want, pretty much, unless you like burned a bridge or something.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people do that. But I don't remember when we met, Luis. I know it's been a couple of years now, but I can't remember. Just like pretty much everyone I know, like I don't remember the exact set we met on. It just seems like one day I just knew you.
Yeah, same. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly where I met you, but I remember you were one of the first people that I like really like was cool with. Like, so you started a little before me, but would you ever have thought that like it's so crazy that like a big chunk of the movie industry moved from LA to Georgia in like just the last couple of years, even since we started doing it, because I mean there used to be like what, like 5-10 productions a year, like back like 10 years ago. So just like would you have like, can you like believe that like you've had the chance to work on some of these productions, like Marvel productions, and met some of these stars and done some of these things, like what do you
I never really considered it, back when I was growing up, a teenager in middle school and early high school. Basically the only thing that I really knew that filmed down here was Walking Dead. And that was one of the first shows to be a mainstay in Atlanta. But as the years went on, I started hearing, this is still a few years prior to me joining the film industry, but I remember, reading the newspaper, hearing on the radio, oh, Hunger Games is going to be down here, Divergent's going to be down here, and these various things. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It seems like waves are being made and stuff's happening. And even then I was like, didn't have any intention on getting into it. But when my roommate suggested it to me, it kind of just fell into my lap, and I realized how easy it was, that I really started going after trying to make a name for myself in it.
This is unbelievable. Same. I think we all kind of started because it just got so big. I never thought that I would be in this industry at all either. Like, so it's just kind of crazy how it kind of worked out like that for a lot of us.
Yeah. I mean, I was getting ready to make the move to LA, man, because that's always been the move. And for some reason, just like you, I started getting work, and I'm like, this is interesting. Obviously, the pay scale is very different. But it was just like, okay, a lot of things keep coming over here. That's very interesting. That's very cool. They keep building studios. So it was a cool thing to see the film industry grow in Atlanta, in Georgia. And I'm happy to be a part of that. Hopefully it stays for a long time. It doesn't leave like in some cities around the United States. But I wanted to ask you, still speaking BG, is there a favorite BG position you've done or show you have worked on as a background?
Oh gosh. As far as roles go, I wouldn't I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite like role. There are different sets where the experience I had with the people was definitely better than others. In general, I would say the most fun I've ever had on set would be the sets where you would get a bunch of people our age, late teens, early 20s, the college movies, the high school movies, and they have you there for weeks at a time, a bunch of days where everybody comes to work every day or night. And, you just bond over the good and the bad that happens there. All crazy stuff happens, stories, people doing crazy shit. And,
Yeah.
it's just memories you're not going to ever forget. And as far as like, I would say the most memorable, most fun I ever had on the set consistently would be, I don't know if you guys were here for this. It was 2017. It was the summer of 17, and it was Blockers. It was the John Cena high school prom movie. And we were there for about a month, maybe a month and some change. And it was just the same people day in and day out. We were there for nights, we were there for days. It was just, we were all in it together. Like they say we're all in it together with this COVID thing, but we aren't all in it together like we were on that set. Not by a long shot.
You guys were the high schoolers, correct?
Yeah, we were. We were the high school prom partiers. They had us in the prom scenes. They had us in the multiple after parties, and everything that went with it. And there were some wild experiences on that set that I don't know if I could get into without getting into slander on some people. But those are some stories for some off camera discussions for sure.
Right. Off the record, But it feels good to get like a reoccurring role, right? Not to have to apply, right?
It does. And for anyone who is wanting to make the jump into something higher, be it crew work or something of the ilk, I would say the best place to start is get on a set consistently. Keep going back to the same set, get to know the people who are there, and let them know what you want to do. And when they see you consistently and you're consistently helping out, that's how you if you want to make the switch, that's how you're going to make the switch. And that's how I did it.
I know you'll have a funny story about this one. I know you've been pretty featured in some roles. So I want you to tell us about Cop Bay.
Oh gosh. So Cop Bay is a reference to a photo. It's actually not Cop Bay. It's something a bit more derogatory, but is a reference to a photo taken by the set photographer on a civil rights movie that I was in. And in this civil rights movie, I was playing a Montgomery police officer during the Montgomery bus boycott. And the scene they had me doing was I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to figure out how to best phrase this. The scene they had me doing, I was an officer. There was this young black man, and we were basically harassing him. So in the scene, the director's like, all right, yeah, go slam him against the wall. And I was like, okay, are you okay with this? To the gentleman that I was acting the scene with. And he's like, yeah, just do it. It's okay. We're all here to make sure we're all here to make the movie. We're all doing our part. This is a message that needs to be heard. So I do it. I'm slamming against the wall, and the director's like, harder, do it harder. And this is a brick wall. Mm-hmm. And so I'm pushing him against the wall, cuffing him, head, basically hand on the cuffs, hand on his head, pushing him against the wall. And that scene never made it into the movie. They decided to cut the scene. I honestly am kind of grateful.
Oh yeah.
To some degree. But at the time, the set photographer, he was out there off to the side snapping photos, and he got a bunch of photos. And we've been talking throughout the day, and then we got to know each other. And then he had added me on Instagram because I really liked his work, because he had done a lot of shoots on different films, and it was really, really great photography. And so we added each other on Instagram. I go home, didn't think of anything of it for about 4 or 5 months. Then I'm just sitting there on Instagram one night, and I get a notification that, hey, you've been tagged in a photo. And I was like, okay, I wonder what this is. So I go to my tagged photos, and it's a black and white photo of me in the Montgomery police officer uniform slamming this man against the wall, and I look mean as hell. And I honestly didn't know I had it in me, but I looked like I was about to bite somebody's head off. And I'm a tall dude. I'm 6'3", going on 6'4" in the right pair of shoes. And at that time, I was like really into lifting weights, like really. So just compared next to this kid, I look massive, and I was like, do I look that mean to people? Like, is this the impression people have of me when they see me? But I saved the photo because I thought it was funny. Showed some friends. Definitely didn't repost it on my page. I hid it on my tagged photos, but I showed it to a couple of friends, and one of our mutual friends, Kiani, I'm not sure if he still does set work, but he saw the photo, and I think I sent it to him, but I can't remember what he did with it. But he was showing people everything. He was showing it to everybody, and he was like, yo, this guy looks racist as fuck, but he looks so good doing it. Like, look at that model face. Look at that model. I was like, no. So a thing between a couple set friends was born. I'm glad it kind of stayed low key. But I became the cop bae, or racist bae, as he coined it. But it was all in good fun. It was fun.
Yeah, and it's funny because people, like, if people know you, you know that you're a pretty nice, like, charismatic, like, guy. So that's why it, like, the contrast of, like, that picture, because yeah, you never look that mean. So it's just like, exactly.
I've been told I have an RBF, but I thank you for paying me the compliment.
Like, if like, maybe if you're just chilling there, but if you're a softie.
Oh, I know.
So yeah,
it's called acting. It's called acting, man.
It is. I didn't know I had it in me to act that well.
So I'm going to fast forward a little bit, because in 2017, you worked on a movie that I got to work on, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun on that set. I was one of the crew on the main airplane.
Oh, you're so lucky. I had tried to get in on that, but I never got the opportunity.
What did you do on that movie?
Oh man, besides the airplane scene, it's like, what didn't I do? I was there, like, between Blockers and Godzilla. Those two movies took up my entire summer. I was there for over a month, and I was a guard. I was a scientist. I was a civilian. I was in the Arctic. I was in China. I was under the ocean. I was in Boston. I was everywhere in that movie. But comes out, never see me. Can't see me in one bit. But the funny thing is I got to be killed by every single monster in the movie except Godzilla.
Oh,
I was so disappointed I didn't get to get eaten or stomped on by the big guy himself. But it was fun. Everything else I got to do was a lot of fun.
Did you have to react to the blue screen?
Yeah, there was a couple scenes where when we were at the underwater base, Godzilla would swim right up to the viewfinder or the view screen, and he would do his little spiel at us, and we would freak out, and they would shake the set. And there was scenes where we had to run away from flying debris, and there was one point where the monster Mothra would shriek at us, and we would freak out and fall down, and just so many different crazy things. And we were all out there hamming it up, having a good time, pretending to die like in the super over the top ways like they did back in the 50s movies.
Right. Over the top. Now, yeah, I have fun on that too, just pretending to, like, fall down, like the earth was shaking. It was just a camera movement, and that was a very good AD. Like, that was a very good AD they had on that movie.
It was the young lady, right? I can't remember her name, or was it somebody?
No, it was a British dude. I cannot remember. I'll insert his name. I will insert his name once yeah.
There was a lot of crew on that movie.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. That was a crazy long movie. They did reshoots. Like, that's why they cut my part out. They did a bunch of reshoots. Yeah, I had a little like feature thing, but they took it off. But it was fun, man. It was fun reacting to a blue screen, just pretending it was Godzilla and Mothra. I'm like,
It's so funny though, because if you've seen the movie and it's free on HBO now, if you haven't,
Right.
they don't show any like besides like the main actors, you don't see any humans like extras or anything. They're so far off in the distance or shrouded in the mist or the fog or whatever. You can barely see any of us, and they had hundreds of us out there at any given time, and it never made it in there. I couldn't ever see myself. I couldn't ever spot my friends. It was just all that. I mean, at least we got paid. At least the check cleared.
Hey,
I was sitting pretty that summer.
We got a month's worth of work and the check cleared. That's all that matters, right?
In the end, that's all that matters.
All right, Luis.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know that was free on HBO. I'm gonna have to catch that then if it's free.
Not the best movie, but it's entertaining. Definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I didn't get to work on that one, but one thing that I did get to work on, that me and you worked. I mean, we worked on a lot of stuff, but one of the coolest ones we did was Stranger Things. We were both in season 3.
We never did anything that upset the flow of the set, but when we were there as extras, we didn't take. I mean, you were there, Luis.
Yeah,
you remember. And were you there, Jorge?
no, I never got to work on it.
Oh, bummer. Gosh, we did not take it seriously at all. I mean, I didn't take it seriously, and
there was a lot of sitting around, and then they wouldn't use a lot of us sometimes, and
that's every extra pretty much. It sounds like every background.
like they had like a lot of us. They would have like a big chunk of us that would like never not get used. I mean, obviously, but I don't know. I feel like they were paying a lot of people, and then yeah, he's right that like, some people didn't take it seriously. Like there was a lot of misconduct. Not speaking on you, John. I'm just talking about people just acting up, and then like on top of like them having to keep it secret because like the first day that like someone realized it was like Stranger Things, it like it got on the AJC of like they're filming it. Like someone took a picture, and then like as the days went on, you saw that more and more people started realizing what was filming, and they started showing up more. And that's when they had that's why they had that Netflix guy, right?
Oh man, that guy had a stick up his butt. The Netflix guy had a stick up his butt. But I understand like it's high stress. They were, if you remember, Luis, they were blocking people out. They had like barriers up, and this is a huge area they had to cover. Because we were the Starcourt Mall. It was called the Starcourt Mall, right?
Yeah.
The Starcourt Mall was this huge set, and all these different entrances, the food court, multiple levels, all these different shops, like 100 ways you could get in there if you were sneaky. And right outside of it, they had an active mall where people were shopping. I mean, not that many people.
Active.
Yeah, the mall was dying. It's not like
Linux
or anything like that.
Yeah, it's crazy because they kept. I know some people still visited the mall like a good while after the we stopped filming there, to the point where Netflix actually had to tear the set down. So like I think it's back to being an abandoned mall. But I mean it was still Starcourt Mall for like months after we finished filming there, and then people would still show up, and I'm sure that Netflix guy was still there, guarding everything because they had to, because people wanted to sneak in and see it, and it was unbelievable. I remember the first day I walked in there, I was like, oh my god, this looks incredible. It felt like the 80s, or is it 70s, 80s?
It was the 80s.
Yeah, it felt like the 80s. And then we were all wearing our super short shorts, and I had a mullet, and it was such a fun experience. But yeah, and they had us for like a good 2 or 3 weeks, right? Something like that.
Not me.
Yeah,
everyone else.
Yeah, John had a little incident with the Netflix guy, little misunderstanding that we're not going to get into, but it was kind of funny. And then that's probably why you're like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Heather might get over it. Like it's
Nah, she did. I had called her shortly after that incident, and she was like, "Yeah, I understand. Don't worry." But going back to what you said, it was incredible being there. Like the sheer scale, and they had everything down to the details. Like whether it was the wrappers on the burgers they were serving in the food court, you know, to the prices on the menu, to the movies that were playing in the theater they had upstairs, and like every item in the shop, like in the mall, like the bookstore, all the books were period accurate, the clothing stores were accurate, everything was just down to this, every little detail was accounted for. And seeing us there all in our costumes and everyone, I guess, living the, you know, pantomiming and acting the experience, it's honestly, I feel, one of the closest things you can get to real life time travel. The closest we'll ever get, because it felt so. I wasn't even in the 80s. I was born in the mid late 90s, and I felt like I was transported back in time. It was an incredible experience for the short stay I had.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. They had some of the arcade games that some of them kind of worked that we'd play. And then they didn't let us have our phones on set because of how highly sensitive the set was. So same, it's like we had our 80s clothes on with the 80s set with no technology, when we all just had to talk to each other. And same, it like felt like we were in the 80s. Like it was like you didn't get to check your phone when you were on set. So
it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
Super fun. Like I'm growing. I was telling Jorge that like I haven't got a haircut since quarantine. I want to get a haircut, but I know Stranger Things is gonna start up, you know, in the next month or two. And so I'm like still debating whether I want to cut it, see if I can get back on there. I don't know if Heather will hire me again. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong, but you know, you never know.
Oh man, in the background world, I mean, we meet people that are friends to this day, just like, you know, me and Luis, or you and Luis, or, you know, people that we still talk to, and that we see from set to set, you know. And I know some people come and go, and then we see a lot of new faces and stuff. Do you have any like advice that you would give to the new generation of BG that are just starting out?
Don't do anything you're not comfortable doing. Don't take shit from people who are giving you shit unnecessarily. Be respectful to people at the same time, though. Not everyone's going to be out to get you, but there are people in this industry who will prey on the people just getting into it, who are looking to become actors, looking to make a name for themselves, and they don't know what's going on. They're going to be looking for people who are the people coming in are going to be looking for people to help them because they don't know what to expect in this industry. So just choose your friends wisely and be aware that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but have fun because you're going to have a blast.
You still keep in contact with a lot of people that maybe like don't do it anymore, or that, you know, that you met a long time ago, but they just kind of got out of that BG or even crew world?
A few. You know, like you said, there's different generations. I came in 2015, and you know, you get the people who do it you get the lifers, like the people who are in it for a life sentence. You know, we all know them, but especially the people our age, you know, they come and go. So I would say about every year, give or take every year or so, you get a new crop of fresh faces. People are turning 18, people are graduating in college. When I started back in 2015, it was a whole different face of people in the film industry, whether that's crew or even backgrounds. A lot of the people I met originally back then, they don't do it anymore. They've moved on to other things or graduated school or felt like it wasn't viable for them. And I would say about every year or so you get a new face of backgrounders, because you know, they turn 18, they graduate high school, or they're looking for a summer job, and you know, they work consistently for about a year, I guess, until they figure things out or figure out what their next step is, whether that's crew or something, whether it's with their major or any other career. And it's crazy because I would say I stopped doing background work at the in the middle of 2018. That was when I made the switch to crew work full time. And even now, like I'll work on a movie or a show and I'll recognize like 1 or 2 out of 100 people. Like it's just new faces. And, you know, the second I got off the train, it's just like, you know, the next group's here. And you get a few that stay in for a while, or a few that are making their, spending a little bit longer on their transition into other departments or other careers. And you get the lifers who are just do it for forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because it works for them. But as far as like people who have left the film industry from the years that I did it, yeah, I talked to them some. There's a group that I'm pretty inconsistently in contact with. But it's not like they completely just quit the film industry cold turkey. You know, they'll take the odd job here or there, but in some capacity they're still working in entertainment. I feel like it's something we all share. I don't think anyone ever truly leaves the film industry.
Right.
I think it's just some people take longer breaks from it than others, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like once you're in, and it's hard to get out. But you know, not everyone wants to get out, and yeah. And the people I'm friends with to this day from some of those earlier generations work in some capacity in entertainment or film or video production or something.
Something, right? So something with a camera.
Yeah, something with a camera.
It could be porn. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm not that good friends with them, so.
No, yeah. Right now, after quarantine, we're like, let me in back to the industry because there's nothing.
They haven't asked me the costume for any of their pornos yet. That would be I would charge higher than my normal rate. That's a given. That's for sure.
Do you need a costume for porno?
I know a girl who's done it, and she says it is a whole different beast, but she doesn't do it anymore. I'm not going to name names. Y'all would recognize her though. She's a costumer who works pretty consistently in the Atlanta film scene, but that is not her game anymore. But she was hustling. She was getting it done. She was making it work.
Yeah.
So yeah. Working.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like you were saying, like that's one of the things that I really enjoy about this industry is that you meet so many people, like just people come and go, but like you meet a ton of people. And I like to tell this to a lot of people. I've met some of the coolest people. And in background, I've also met some pretty shitty people. It's a whole spectrum of some of the worst people you'll meet and some of the best people you'll meet.
Definitely.
And I have plenty of like friends that I've met through the industry that like, some more familiar than others, but I feel like I'm probably going to be in contact with a lot of the friends that I have now, probably in some capacity for a while. So, I mean,
I agree. I think a lot of the friends that I've made here, in the film industry, the really good ones, like I think I will be in contact with them probably for maybe the rest of my life. Like it's just like a bond gets built, working together and spending all this time together, and you really get to know each other. And it's just that's an experience unlike any other, I think, and it keeps us together, keeps us in contact.
So the next question is, so yeah, after doing BG for a while, you finally got maybe more of a consistent PA work in the summer of 18.
I did.
Do you remember what that was on? And can you tell us how you got in and started getting more consistent PA work?
Okay, so basically, I was coming to the end of my college career. I was finishing up school, and I was of the mindset where, all right, for me, background work was always kind of more like a summer job. It was something that I needed to do just to keep me busy while I was living at home with my parents between semesters of college and getting me out of the house and around people my age instead of being trapped up in the suburbs, in your hometown type deal.
Yeah.
But once that came to an end and I was planning on moving to the city, I started thinking that I needed something a bit more viable. And pretty early on in my background career, I realized that I didn't really want to be an actor. If it had fallen in my lap, I would take it for sure. and I would run with it. But I was always more interested in the artistic side, the creative side of filmmaking, whether like the artsy type stuff. And I knew that I couldn't jump right into that. I knew it would take time, meeting the right people and presenting myself in the right capacity to these people who would be in a position to hire me. So summer of 18, I was what was it? The first set that I did PA work on, this is going to tie back into what I was saying earlier about, you get on a set for a long time, you meet the PAs, you meet the crew, you get to know them, and you spend your time on set productively. I was working on Dynasty. It's that CW soap opera. Pretty much everyone in Atlanta has worked on it. It was season 1, and the PA there, she was one of the key PAs on Blockers, the movie from the summer of 17, the year prior. And she remembered me, and she didn't know that I was super serious about being in the crew work then, because at that point I wasn't. But she had liked me from that show I was on. And so the couple days I was spending on Dynasty, I got to talking to her, and I was like, hey, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. I just finished school, and and I've been working in film for a while. You know me on and off for the past few months, year or so. And I just wanted to let you know that I want to be a PA. I want to learn the trade. I want to do whatever I can to get myself into this position. No, not anything that also goes back into don't let people take advantage of you. But I wanted to prove to her that I was serious, because a lot of people will come up to PAs and just be like, oh, I want to be PA, I want to do this, but they're not really serious. They kind of just want the position, and a lot of people won't take them seriously because it's like, oh, this is just an extra who's just looking to advance himself or herself real quickly. But the way I let her know that I was serious is I would help out with the vouchers while we were in holding. I would check the I-9s to make sure everyone's information is correct. I would prep vouchers for the next day. Nothing overstepping my position as a background, just little things to help out and make their job a little bit easier. Just take a little pressure off, because they have 200 people that they have to wrangle, and us, we're a rowdy bunch, and there's always some bullshit. So after a while, she eventually called me and said, hey, here's my AD. She wants to give you a shot. So I came PA'd on that show. And at the same time, I got calls from another show, that one of the PAs from Godzilla. They called me because she was working on Insatiable. And I got an opportunity to work on season 1 of that as a pre-production assistant. But like anything, it's not going to be consistent right off the bat. I didn't just quit BG work cold turkey and transition 100% into crew work. So for about 7 months, I was doing both. I would be PAing, one day on one show, then the other day I'd be doing background work on another, or stand-in, or, anything to get. I was living on my own, or I was living with roommates, and I got to make rent, got to pay the bills. So you got to do what you got to do. You got to hustle. And as time went on, I met more people, and I was given different opportunities, but it's a very, very slow burn. Sometimes it happens at snap, for some people, but I would say for the vast majority, it's a slow burn, and it takes time. And by the summer of 18, the end of the summer of 2018, about 2 years ago coming up, I got the opportunity to costume PA on a show. It was after the teen romance, whatever, the teen romance, 50 Shades of Grey schlock that teens eat up. It was a fun little movie. Not much to it. I'm definitely not the target audience for it, but I wasn't going to pass up an opportunity to work. So I got the costume on that, be a costume PA. I learned the trade of, running the books and doing returns and doing coffee runs for the department heads and just little things, nothing too groundbreaking or earth shaking. But After that, I costume PA'd a little bit more. And once the supervisor who I was working with felt I was ready, brought me onto a show in a costumer capacity. And from then, I've been working fairly consistently as a costumer in the union.
That's amazing, man. That's awesome. How you went from BG to like a pretty much consistent costume PA. I just want to backtrack a little bit to when you started working as a PA, and you told me you did BG as well. Did you ever work as a crew member and then background on the same show?
Ooh, actually, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit, but it was after, like the one I told you I got the Costume PA job, because I had known the supervisor from that show, and he had known me. We knew each other pretty well, but he knew that I was doing crew work, and I was on after as a background for one day, and he was like, "Hey, John, I thought you were doing crew work now." And I was like, "Yeah, when I can, when I get the opportunities, they come and they go. I take what I can get." But he was like, "Hey, I need a new costume PA. Can you start tomorrow as my costume PA?" So I finished out that day as a background, and then the next day I came in as the costume PA. But going back to where you were, backtracking back to what you said, I think I did it once, when money got tight. But I would say the best advice for someone who's trying to make the crew, who's trying to make it into crew work, is don't do it. Don't at the same time. Don't do BG work at the same time you're doing crew work on the same show, because the crew members will see that, the PAs, the ADs, the grips, whoever, people are going to see it, and people always talk, and it makes you look slightly unprofessional. And as much as I hate to say it, appearances are everything in this industry. But if you got to do it, you got to make money. You got to make ends meet. Definitely don't turn your nose up at it, but try to keep it separate as much as possible. Like don't double dip like that. It's just not the best look, unfortunately.
That's true, man. It's very true.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, maybe if you go from PA to crew, but maybe not from crew back to PA.
Yeah.
Because because when I worked on Stuber, I was a background on that, like 2 or 3 days. And then I got, I think like a week later, I got offered to stand in on that, and then I ended up just finishing out the movie standing in. Exactly, but I was like, yeah, and I think they might have offered me even like to do BG again when like I wasn't working, like the person that I was standing in for wasn't there. But I was like, no, I'm just gonna like keep it. So I mean, that's some really good advice. Maybe going from BG to crew, not so bad, but try exactly on the same show. Don't double
dip like that. And also, when you're in a higher capacity too, when you're past BG to crew, and I'd say you're more PA to crew, don't sell yourself short, because I remember I learned a lesson from a supervisor and designer who very well known, very have a lot of pull in the industry. And I was on a show. It was one of the first shows that I costumed on, and I was very green. I still am. I'm still learning. I still have a lot to learn, but I was very green then. And there was one point where I wasn't feeling very good about the work I was doing as a costumer. And I went to the supervisor and I said, "Hey, I still have a lot to learn, and I would love to follow y'all to your next show. And I would love to, and I'm thinking that I should be a costume PA on the next show, just so I can learn some more before I really make this transition into costumer." And he pulled me aside and he was like, "John, you are already a costumer. Don't sell yourself short. You're here. Like I said, it's a bad appearance. It's a bad look if they see you bouncing from one position to another, especially if it's one where you're super high and then you go back down to super low."
Right.
So, I was a bit discouraged after that show, but I stayed in the capacity that I was as a costumer, and I continued to get more work, and I'm where I am today. I would say that I have somewhat established myself as hopefully a reliable person to have on a team.
So, well, being a costume PA eventually took you to LA. Is that right?
Yeah, I got the chance to work out in LA on a show as a costume PA. Actually, it was while I was union here, and this goes against everything I say. About the don't take a step down, but I'm not as a member of 479, IATSE 479. I cannot work outside of Georgia or a few of the southern states as a union member.
Right.
And especially in LA, their costume departments have very strict union laws and regulations. But I got a chance to work out there as a PA, and I was like, you know what? It's a town that no one knows me in. I can, I want to work out in LA. I'm going to be able to. I'm not going to get this chance probably again for a while, so I'll take it. So I went and worked out on a little show out there as a costume PA, and I had a ball, and it was a whole different world, similar but very different to what it is in Atlanta.
So they do work differently, a little bit differently than they work here, right?
For sure. And I would say the extras there, they know their worth. They will not let you treat them any differently, and that's a good thing. And the parents of children, the show that I was on was very children heavy, and those LA parents, but their kids trying to get their kids to be actors, those are some tough sons of bitches. They wouldn't take no shit from anybody, and they were fighting for kids' camera times. They were fighting for, they were just all up on us. It was very much different than it is here, because the parents here and the BG here kind of like, oh, I don't know anything about this, so I don't know what to expect. And I think the crew here treats them accordingly, but they know what they can and can't do in LA, and they won't let you get away with any bullshit there.
Damn.
So yeah, moving on, so a really famous person that shoots here, has a huge studio here that just recently opened, is Tyler Perry. Did you work for Tyler Perry, and was it as a costumer or a PA or what? Tell us about that.
I did. Last fall, I got the chance to work on one of his shows, The Oval. It's one of his many shows he makes, and he writes and directs and produces and does the whole thing himself. The show is about presidential scandals in the White House and all the ins and outs of what's going on there. I got the costume that for the run of the show, and it is very different. The way he does things on his lot is very different than how other shows shoot in Atlanta and LA, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's different than not even just LA. I think it's just different. I don't think anybody shoots like Tyler Perry. It's kind of crazy to watch. It's
So
private.
Have y'all ever worked for him before?
Yeah.
In a capacity? Okay. So on an average movie set, at most, on the fastest moving best day, you'll shoot 5.5, 6 pages of script, right? He will shoot upwards of anywhere from 80 to 115 to 120 pages a day.
Just churning them out.
Oh man, he works at the speed of light, and he'll shoot an entire movie that would take a month and some change. He'll shoot that entire movie in 6 days. The Oval was a 24 episode, 45 minute per episode season. We shot that in 2 weeks. And because he shoots at such a breakneck speed, we shoot one take, we get all the camera coverage on one thing, and we just move from shot to shot to shot, location, all in his studio. And I don't think I've ever shot outside of his studio. I think he shoots everything in-house.
Right.
But when you're shooting at that speed, we have maybe 15 to 20 different costume changes per day. And when he's trying to shoot everything in a 12-hour, he won't go over 12 hours, at least on the show that I was on. He wouldn't go over 12 hours. When you're trying to shoot everything in a 12-hour day and you have all these different costume changes for all these different actors, it's just madness. And I was so stressed. Those 2 weeks felt like some of the longest 2 weeks of my life because it just felt like it would never end. And it's not how I like to do things. I prefer to work on sets where things move at a more normal pace, an average, 5 pages per day type deal, 1 or 2 costume changes max. But I am glad that I had the experience I had on his show. It taught me to be more efficient. It taught me to be faster, and would I want to work over there again? Yeah, I think I would. He treats his people very well. He's a stern boss, but he looks out for his own. He gave us all a really nice bonus at the end of shooting. He's a very generous man. He looks out for people. He gives people opportunities. I saw him giving extras lines on his shows multiple times throughout the 2 weeks, and he's a very good person. I think I struggled with how he ran things on his show, but in the end, we all got through it, and the show came out, and we were all very proud of the work we did, and it was a very good experience. Very tough, but very good.
Yeah, man, he for sure he shoots fast, the fastest I've ever seen. I think he still has a world record, 6 days, something like that.
Yeah.
And we did actually our second episode of this show being extra. We interviewed one of the casting assistants for Southern Casting Associates, which does the casting for Tyler Perry as well. And she told us how, like, it'll be like midnight, and they'll be like, we need 100 extras tomorrow. And she'll be like getting on her computer, on the phone, like up at any time, because that's the way he works. He'll just add a scene, take away a scene. It's crazy. But
was this Andrea
Guerrero?
Yeah, I know her. I really like her. She was one of the original people that I say I've met that is one of the few who still works in the industry that I met from way back in the day.
She's super nice. Yeah, man. We interviewed her. We had a lot of fun with her. She just told us some fun stories working over there. Just how even though it's a short period of time, that short period of time is hectic. It feels like a month worth of work in a week. So I understand what you're saying, man. He shoots fast, but the most impressive thing is that studio, man. That studio is amazing.
Beautiful. It is the most beautiful movie studio I've ever seen. So talking about Tyler Perry's studio, it's the most beautiful, biggest studio, I think, in Atlanta. It's definitely the best I've ever seen. He was talking a month or so ago, about opening up his studio, being one of the first movie studios to come back after coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And of all the movie studios of all the movie studios, I think that he has the best chance of actually pulling it off and making it work. Just from the way he runs things, because he does everything in-house. He has the facilities to keep people there long term. He has the houses, he has the parks, the gyms, the courts, the restaurants, the caterers. He was talking about bringing people on for 2 weeks before the show starts. You got to self-quarantine, then before you come on you got to get tested, and then you're going to be on the lot for X amount of weeks, however long we're shooting, right? And you can't leave. And then once you finish, you can leave, but you got to quarantine after that too. And the way he keeps his facilities spotless. This was even before Corona, because I think he's slightly maybe germophobic to some degree, but he keeps his facilities spotless. And I don't, of any movie studio planning on opening up during this virus, or as it's winding down, or as we hope it's winding down, I think he has the best shot at actually doing it successfully, because he can just keep everybody in there. He has everything in house. You don't need to go to rental houses to get costumes. You have all the costumes and warehouses there of old stuff you can go pull from. You've got all the lots, all the different sets, everything to make it happen. And The only thing that would be tricky would be backgrounds. You know, I don't think you can't bring in hundreds of background, have them live there too.
Mhm.
I think whatever he's going to shoot coming up, if he goes forward with this plan to open up soon, it would have to be a smaller type movie. You know, like everything else is probably going to be filming for the next year. But if anyone's going to make it happen during the virus, it's going to be him. He can definitely pull it off. I wouldn't put anything past him.
Yeah, man. I'm always gonna say it. Like, not just like an artist, but he's a businessman. He puts out a lot of content and very quick. So that's like his business model, and I've seen it being done. You've seen it being done. We've all seen it being done. Yeah, the BG thing. Maybe there's a whole article how they might be replaced with CGI, BG. We'll see how that works as CGI gets better, but we'll see, man. Maybe we'll see if background have a future.
You can never replace us. You know, they can't convincingly put a bad extra in the background. Fucking around in the background.
Yeah, I think at some point it might go back to normal. Same. I don't know when that's gonna be, but
Yeah.
I would say I'm just shooting out numbers here, but I'm like 5 years from now it'll probably be back to normal. Hopefully.
I think it definitely will by then. I say, you know, once we get a vaccine
in like 2 years, I mean, maybe like the first year might be, but I'm thinking about 2 years it might go back to normal. Obviously, we'll see. Hopefully, I don't shoot myself in the foot with that exactly, knocking on wood. But I think it will eventually go back to normal. So yeah, you were a costumer. Want to talk about that a little more? I was gonna ask you what a Costume P.A does, but you've already kind of explained some of the stuff that you do. So I mean, I think people get the general idea of what a costumer is. So
Yeah.
But you said you've been working on a lot of period pieces. I think the last project we worked on before Corona was Aretha.
Oh, so speaking of Aretha, the trailer just came out. So yeah, you need to see it. That's exciting. I'll probably put a link to it as this video comes out. But yeah, tell us about that.
So that was actually the very last thing I worked on before COVID kind of shut us all down. I was going to probably bounce over to a Netflix show, in the early middle March, but once Aretha was over, they nothing else started up. So I worked on it a little bit before Christmas, and after the Christmas holidays, I came back in the new year, and then I was brought on full time just because of the sheer number of people they were bringing in. They had hundreds of people per day, so they had me out there dressing people, sewing. I had to be on set sewing up all the dresses and clothes that would rip because they were ancient and they'd been sitting in a warehouse for 70 years and 50 plus years. It seems like most of the productions I work on are period pieces, and it's kind of funny because I went to school for history and I love it, but period pieces are some of the hardest shows you can work on just because you have to know the era. You have to be able to fix and adjust clothing that 99% of the clothing you're going to get is going to be rentals, and it's not going to fit our actors and actresses and talents and background, because it's not clothes that they have that they can bring to the set, like on a contemporary piece where everybody wears, oh, I brought my jeans, I brought my hoodie, I can wear that, and it's going to fit. And stuff was sized different back then, so it's even trickier having to figure out what's going to work for certain people and their body types, and it's just harder. But like it was with Tyler Perry, like the experiences far outweigh the good. Like the good far outweighs the bad and the tough with period pieces, because I learned so much working on them, whether it's about the era or just about costuming in general, like because they're so much tougher than working on like after the modern day teen romance that took place in college, where everybody wears a hoodie and tennis shoes.
And yeah, I'm always so surprised how strict they are on getting everything right, which obviously really adds to the authenticity of a movie, which I like really appreciate. But sometimes I'm just like, it's just like it's a hassle. I know it's a hassle for everyone.
Oh, for sure.
It's just it's just like, especially when everyone's stressing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I respect it. And since you've been working on period pieces a lot, like now, is that kind of becoming like your favorite thing to do, or like I know it's like, obviously, like you said, it's harder, but do you enjoy it now more than maybe like costuming like contemporary?
Once you finish a period piece, I think the first thought I have is, gosh, I hope I can get on a modern day, just easy teen movie, just so I can just relax for a bit and just not have to worry about the craziness that comes in with fittings and everything, and dressing people and everything that goes with that. But I would say period is probably my favorite thing to do, because I went to school for history, and definitely like some eras better than others. I am dead tired of doing stuff in the 70s and 80s. I feel like most of the stuff I've done has been in that era. I've learned so much about it now. But my favorite, I would love to do something. I would love to do stuff like in the 20s. I would love to do something, in the 1800s. I haven't got the chance to do that yet. I would love to do it like a war piece from back in the day. But hopefully that opportunity will present itself soon.
That's good, man. Well, man, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for doing this. We had a lot of fun talking, just hearing your stories, how, you started from pretty much background to now, doing Costume P.A, even though we're in quarantine. But this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, man, it's fun catching up. Great to talk to you.
Okay, I just want to thank my co-host, Luis. I want to thank Jon for coming on. You guys, tune in, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and now Spotify. All right, thank you guys.
Bye.
Yeah, it was good talking to you. Bye. Bye, guys. See you guys later.